What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Outpost. My name is Dallas. Unfortunately, Jay could not join me. The only reason we went ahead and spit this out with me doing this by myself is we have had time and time again of scheduling issues. Just things popping up for both of us not being able to get this. And the last weekend for drafts is literally this weekend coming up. So we needed to get our rankings out to you as soon as possible. So I am running through all four positions that you are going to be going into your drafts looking for in our rankings. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're starting off with quarterbacks. So this year we did things a little bit differently, kind of falling more in line with what you're starting to see more often across the whole fantasy football community is we did tiers. We still did rank them in order, but they are now in tiers so that when you go into your drafts, you may miss out on the number 8 guy, but the number 9 guy's in the same tier, so it's okay. You can turn right around and grab that player. So we're going to go ahead and break these down. We're going through the top 24 at each position, and that's what we're giving you with a few additives in each one that may have went a little bit past that are in the same tier. And so we're going to kick this off with our quarterbacks. This is our tier 1 for quarterbacks, and starting off that is Patrick Mahomes at 1, Kyler Murray at 2, and Josh Allen at 3. So Patrick Mahomes, Jay had him at 1, I had him at 2, and of course we're going to give him the respect and list him first because we were split on our 1 and 2. And so Patrick Mahomes, there's really not a whole lot to get into with this other than simply he's reliable. He's always been a top quarterback week in, week out. He's the only one you can justify drafting as early as he goes and be completely comfortable with it. Lamar Jackson showed us last year that it's really not that often. Patrick Mahomes really should kind of be in a tier of his own, arguably, but I do actually see another guy working his way up to that, and that is Kyler Murray, our number 2 in tier 1, which I had at number 1, and it's mainly because I think he's going to do more of what we saw last year. He's not stuck with that curse of finishing as the 1, so he can't do it the next year kind of thing that you usually see, because he technically didn't. Week 17 allowed Josh Allen to jump right ahead of him, so he technically finished as the 2 last year. But Kyler Murray, I think he takes a big step forward in his passing touchdown efficiency, which kind of goes in line with what you'll see on the wide receiver side when we get to that episode or that portion. But that's going to be our 1 and 2. And then rounding things out is Josh Allen. Jay had him at 4, and I had him at 3. He's the last one in our tier 1. Josh Allen has looked phenomenal. And I will say this on a quick, brief description of him. A lot of people don't know if they really want to jump on board because they've seen it before where the guy takes a huge leap. Do we really buy it? Is it the best season he's ever going to have? And my counterpoint to that is simply this. The way he improved is why I'm so confident in Josh Allen. It's not just went out, had a lucky year, everything fell right for him. He significantly improved in the department of accuracy without even jeopardizing making the big plays, the deep throws, the bomb throws that he's good at. He's still doing that and improved his accuracy. And it's just not an improvement we typically see. So I get the hesitation, but it's how he did it that should make you feel more comfortable, because it wasn't just him checking down and throwing these little short passes to improve efficiency. He really didn't change his play style. He just got better. And so now with Stephon Diggs still there paired with him and a nice little accent of pieces around that, I am fully confident this team is not going to hardly run the ball at all. Josh Allen should have the volume and the talent and the ability to get you there this year as one of the top quarterbacks. So that rounds out our tier 1. Moving on to our tier 2 of quarterbacks. There's only 2 guys in this, and that is Dak Prescott at 4 and Lamar Jackson at 5. So starting off with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott I had at 4, and Jay had him at 5. Dak Prescott, there's really not much to say other than if he's healthy, he's going to continue what he did last year, maybe at a slightly lower rate. That's why I have him down at 4 behind those first guys. But that being said, that offense is still just as good as it was last year. It's going to be better just because everybody's in sync. Blake Jarwin's coming back, another weapon they can throw the ball to. CeeDee Lamb, everyone expects to take that big leap this year. Amari Cooper's back. Michael Gallup's going into his 4th year, I believe. And so the development of everybody is looking great. All in all, this is looking good for things to keep rolling the way we saw Dak. Again, maybe not at that record-setting pace, but he should still be an absolute sure thing, given that he's healthy Maybe it takes a game or two at the beginning to ease back in, but the way Dak is in his mentality, I really don't think he's gonna. I think he's gonna be ready to go straight back in it, and you should absolutely feel confident drafting him because, if he gets hurt again, it's just the nature of it. I don't think he's at any risk of it outside of just bad luck that it happens again. And so, moving on to our number 5 in that same tier 2, which is Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson, I actually have him at 6, and Jay has him at 3. So Jay's a little bit higher on him than I am, but we're both on the same page. If you watched our last episode, I did go on a short little tangent about how I do think Lamar Jackson takes quite a big step forward this year, but I think it's going to be in the passing game and not so much the running game, because they have seen him play like an MVP the year he won the MVP. He finished the year strong last year playing that same way, and both times ended in the same result, them getting to the playoffs and ultimately losing and not getting anywhere with it. And so I think they're wanting to really see him take that step forward passing-wise like he tried to do at the beginning of the year last year, and it just didn't work out. The main argument is he had no one to throw to. Now, granted, a lot of them are unhealthy right now. They're all trying to get back, but once they are, he's got a lot better squad to throw to this year. You may not like any of them for fantasy outside of Mark Andrews, but that being said, they're all very complimentary to let Lamar Jackson take his step forward, so he's going to round out our tier 2. So moving on to tier 3, we have 4 guys in this, with number 6 being Russell Wilson, number 7, Tom Brady, number 8, Aaron Rodgers, and number 9, Ryan Tannehill. So starting off here, Russell Wilson, I have him at 5. Jay has him at 9, so he's a little bit lower on him than I am, and that's primarily because he thinks they're going to run the ball a little bit more, and that's completely understandable based on all the rumors and stuff that you're hearing, the coach staff that they hired, stuff like that. My take with Russell Wilson is we saw in the offseason it came to pretty much stalemate, and we thought Russell Wilson was going to be a Bear. We thought he was going to be a Dolphin at one point. We thought he was potentially going to be a Saint. And then out of nowhere, everything was fine. Everyone was happy. He claimed none of that. No trade request was ever even made, even though we're all pretty sure that actually happened. And things just were very bad and then all of a sudden very good. And the big dispute was between him and the coach, Pete Carroll. And so I think personally, and again, this is a little bit narrative driven, but to me, I just don't see another scenario where it suddenly becomes roses like that, other than Russell Wilson got his way. And because he had a big contract, and I don't think it was money related. He just, they came out last year torching the league. They switched over to running, and ultimately they lost in the playoffs again. And so his argument is a good one, and when they won their Super Bowl is their defense and running the ball. They can't do that anymore because that defense is nowhere near what it used to be. It's pretty decent, but it's not anywhere near the Legion of Boom. And so he's saying, guys, you have me. Let me torch the league like I started the year. And as we keep going in this offense with the weapons we have now, it's going to continually get better. And so I personally think he's going to be able to be given the keys and essentially let Russ cook again. And I'm siding with a lot of the pieces in this offense. I'm a big fan of DK this year, big fan of Tyler Lockett. And one of my favorite late tight ends to grab is Gerald Everett. And I just think the whole team as a whole is going to be running smoothly, and I think Russell Wilson's going to be the primary factor for that. So I have Russell Wilson at 5. He is our number 6 quarterback. Moving on to number 7, which is Tom Brady. Again, there's not a whole lot to talk about. He has the weapons. We like Mike Evans. We like Chris Godwin. We like Antonio Brown. He's got a nice collection of tight ends to throw the ball to. He's now got Gio Bernard that's going to help him in the passing game from the backfield as well. The other guys aren't great catchers, but they can catch a check down if they absolutely have to. But that whole offense is just going to get even better. We saw what they were able to do on that last stretch at the end of the year last year. Now they have a full offseason of actually working together. And then you have a lot of these auxiliary pieces to plug in there that at wide receiver that they can, and they just have a nice rotation all around, a great offensive line to protect him for him to be able to air it out. So Tom Brady's a no-brainer this year. I think everybody's kind of moved on. He's old. I mean, until he shows us a reason to doubt it, I really don't think we have any reason to do so. So Tom Brady, sure thing. We got him at 7, barring any kind of crazy, injuries and stuff like that. He should be a sure thing. So number 8, moving on to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, same thing, more of the same of what you saw last year. He's going to be highly efficient. He's based on everything we heard this offseason. He's going to go in and not care. He's going to do things his way, which could end up, believe it or not, better than he was last year. So we may even have him too low here. But that being said, forgot to mention with Tom Brady, I have Tom Brady at 9. Jay has him at 6. Aaron Rodgers, I have Aaron Rodgers at 8. Jay has him at 7. So again, Aaron Rodgers 8. More of the same you saw from last year. He's got the weapons. He's going to be able to do it. He's got some pieces. The passing game didn't really change that much. I'm not very big on Amari Rodgers, but he did get Randall Cobb back. Robert Tonyan should be taking another step forward. Aaron Jones is Aaron Jones. You know he's going to be there. I'm a big fan of Kylan Hill for when they bring him in every now and then for some pass-catching work. So all in all, the offense should be more of the same, and he should be able to come out and tear it up. He might just regress some on those touchdowns, so I have him a little bit lower. So last one in this tier is number 9, Ryan Tannehill. I have Ryan Tannehill at 7, and Jay has him at 10. So Ryan Tannehill, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. When he got the job from Mariota, he finished the year out as the quarterback 2. Last year, getting the full season, he finished the year as the quarterback 8. They added Julio Jones to that offense, and I don't see how he would suddenly trend downwards because of that. The Derrick Henry, so again, the only downside to Tannehill is if, everybody just gets hurt. Derrick Henry can't handle the load after he did last year. A.J. Brown's issues linger. Julio can't stay healthy and stays on and off the field. Stuff like that. But outside of that happening, if everybody's full steam ahead, I'm full steam ahead with Ryan Tannehill. He's such a great value in drafts. I walk out of almost every single one that I can with him. I faded him way too hard last year. I'm not making that same mistake this year. We have Ryan Tannehill at 9, finishing out our tier 3 of quarterbacks. Moving on to tier 4, we've got 3 guys here. Number 10 is Justin Herbert. Number 11 is Matthew Stafford. And number 12 is Jalen Hurts. So number 10, Justin Herbert, I have him at 11. And Jay has him at 8. Justin Herbert, same thing. We like the weapons he's got, and we think he can continue what he did from last year. I don't know if he takes any kind of major steps forward because he did really well last year. So I think you can kind of just continue to see more of the same. And then obviously he's going to make some improvements from a year 1 to year 2 quarterback. Get better at reading defenses, get better at, just handling the whole offense, and becoming more of a veteran out there. So again, sky's the limit with him. He could jump up even more, but I think you're going to see more of the same of what you saw last year, which is a very solid quarterback. He should finish as a quarterback 1. He's our quarterback 10, leading out our tier 4. Moving on to Matthew Stafford, something we were actually both pleasantly surprised. We both did our rankings separately and then showed them to each other afterwards. I have Matthew Stafford at 10. He has him at 11. Usually see him down in that 14, 15, 16 range. We're both really high on him. This is an offense that allowed Jared Goff, of all quarterbacks, to finish as a quarterback 6 in fantasy. And this is now Matthew Stafford. They traded Jared Goff, who was their number 1 overall pick when they made that pick in 2016, and 2 first-round picks. Keep in mind, they already paid Jared Goff. He was on a massive contract, and they moved all of that for Matthew Stafford, which is, if there's any indication there, I can't imagine they pay that hefty of a price to have him come in and be a game manager and hand the ball off a ton. We love the wide receivers there. Tyler Higbee's everybody's favorite tight end this year. Everything points to this team taking a step forward. I'm under the belief that Matthew Stafford was held in Detroit at a loss. I think he definitely could have been better somewhere else, and now we get to see that opportunity as long as he stays healthy, which I don't think, outside of his small thumb issue that he had that seems to be perfectly fine and not a worry at all, that he has any other lingering issues. So this should be full steam ahead Matthew Stafford, and quite honestly, I could see this being a take where we have him at 11, I have him at 10, and that could still end up being wrong. This could be the guy where we're all looking at the end of the season. We're like, wow, I can't believe it. We all should have seen that happening, and we didn't. So I definitely think stop sleeping on Stafford. If you can, get him. He's absolutely a must-grab in your drafts if you can, especially at where he's going. He's right there. He's basically getting drafted around where we have him, which is, again, value just because of you're not having to spend that high of a draft price for him like you are some of these higher guys, and he's got just as likely of a situation to where he could finish there with those guys. So next we got Jalen Hurts finishing out this tier 4 at number 12, our last quarterback 1. Jay has him at 12. I have him at 13. Jay's slightly higher, but we're both pretty much on the same page. His rushing upside is why he's here, and it really just depends on what you believe about this offense. I'm not quite as high on him as most just because I do think his rushing upside helps him, but I don't think this offense is going to run very smoothly. Your best wide receiver is a rookie, and then your next two best wide receivers are year two guys who really did nothing in their year ones, and then you have a combination of two tight ends. Jay's a little bit higher on the tight ends than I am. I think they're going to complement Hurts pretty well, but I don't think it's anything crazy. But I do like Kenneth Gainwell out of the backfield and Boston Scott. They're both going to help him. So I think he's going to have the pieces around to have an efficient offense. I don't think you're going to see any crazy passing numbers, but you could see a really, really good, minus all the rushing touchdowns, rushing yards and passing yards, Cam Newton-esque type season out of him. And so because of that, I think his upside is absolutely a quarterback one. He could finish higher than this, but I think he's going to be a guy that you draft where he's going, he's just going to deliver on it. And so that finishes out our quarterback ones, and it also finishes out our tier 4. Moving on to our tier 5 guys here. This is starting off at 13. We have Joe Burrow, and then Ben Roethlisberger at 14, Matt Ryan at 15, and Tua Tagovailoa at 16. So number 13, Joe Burrow. I actually have Joe Burrow at 12. And he has Joe Burrow at 15. And so my whole belief on Joe Burrow is kind of the same thing as Dak. If he comes in and he's healthy, he's got the weapons around him to take the step forward. I saw enough out of him to really, really believe in him as a quarterback all in all. I know he had some question marks with the deep ball, but you could argue they kind of struggled with position players for that. And now they brought in a guy who was great for that in Jamar Chase. So I really, really think he takes a step forward this year. And you get to see kind of what we saw out of Herbert last year, out of Burrow this year. And I think Burrow takes that step forward and finishes as a quarterback one. That's why I have him at 12. And now that he's starting to slip a little bit further in drafts, I think he's starting to become worth it. Early on in the offseason, when he was going as high as the Tom Brady's and the Russell Wilsons and, a little bit behind them, it just wasn't worth it. And there's plenty of guys that I like better than him I could get afterwards. So he wasn't going to be on any of my teams. I had a draft not that long ago where he slipped so far. I drafted him a round after I drafted Ryan Tannehill, who I have ahead of him. And so once he gets to that point, he's going to be a steal. If that's the case in your drafts, great. If he's still really high in your drafts, go ahead and pass on him because he is a risk. But that being said, I believe in him. I think he can take that step forward. If he struggles early, he might be a good target to go try and trade for. Next in the line is 14, Ben Roethlisberger, another one of our pleasant surprises. I had Ben Roethlisberger at 16. He had him at 14. The reason it was a pleasant surprise is if any of you have done your drafts yet or are about to head into and doing mock drafts, Ben Roethlisberger is practically free at the end of your draft. He is one of the last quarterbacks on the board. For whatever reason, everybody's fading him. He came off of surgery last year and started off slow, but still looked good and finished as a quarterback 13. He looks to be a lot healthier this year. He's got 3 great wide receivers he throws the ball to, a reliable tight end when it comes to touchdowns. Everybody loves Najee Harris. He's great in the passing game, and he's going to be able to help Ben Roethlisberger breathe a little bit in the running game. And so, honestly, outside of injuries, there's really no reason Ben Roethlisberger doesn't have a great season. I've been trying to grab him everywhere I can as my backup quarterback in one quarterback leagues or my quarterback 3 in Superflex leagues. He's usually who I'm going with, especially if I take riskier guys. Like in a one quarterback league, if I'm spinning up and taking that Justin Fields, I'm going to go ahead and slap Ben Roethlisberger behind him later in the draft if I can, just to try to have a sure thing until Fields gets the nod. But Ben Roethlisberger, honestly, should have a great year, and he's getting faded. He's one of the best values in the draft. Next, we got at 15, Matt Ryan. I have Matt Ryan at 17, and Jay has Matt Ryan at 13. I'm a little bit lower than most on Matt Ryan, but we do still have him in this tier at 15. The main reason being that I'm lower is obvious one is Julio is gone. A lot of people think it's just going to be as simple as, Calvin Ridley moves up to Julio, and Kyle Pitts steps into Calvin Ridley role, and Russell Gage continues what he's been doing, and we have all these auxiliary pieces that are going to help. Mike Davis is going to help, and I get all of that. But one thing, when you actually look into the efficiency numbers of Matt Ryan last year with and without Julio, is huge difference. He was a back-end quarterback 1 when he had Julio Jones, and he was a borderline back-end quarterback 2, almost, or actually early quarterback 3. without Julio Jones. And a lot of you might be a little confused by that because you've been seeing the Calvin Ridley numbers of what he's done with and without Julio and how it hasn't really changed that much. And so naturally you assume Matt Ryan was just as good. No, it became the Calvin Ridley show, and it's really all they had to work with. And Matt Ryan actually took a huge hit because of it. I think you're going to have that sweet spot in between those two, and that's why I got him at 17, is because he's going to be not as inefficient as he was without Julio, because Kyle Pitts is going to help that a lot, but he's not going to be nearly as good as he was with Julio. And so I have him at 17. We have him overall at our quarterback 15. So the last one on the list in this tier here is Tua Tagovailoa. This is primarily because of me. I actually have Tua all the way up at my quarterback 14. Jay has him at quarterback 17. I just believe in Tua. I think he takes that step forward that he was drafted to do. We are all starting to fade him because of what we saw last year. Last year, he was stuck in an offense that was built for Ryan Fitzpatrick with almost no weapons to throw the ball to. This entire offense is completely different now. They've shifted things and built it for Tua to succeed. They went out and got him some weapons in Will Fuller and drafted Jalen Waddle, who is my overall ranked 2 wide receiver out of this class. I love Jalen Waddle, and I think he's going to become an immediate impact on the field for the Dolphins that's going to help Tua tremendously. And I think they've got a great committee at running back that's going to help Tua's efficiency as well. This defense is going to allow him to breathe most of the time, and so I think Tua actually takes a huge step forward this year. And so I have him in the same tier of my personal tiers with Jalen Hurts at 13 and 14. I think they both finish around the same with the same amount of upside. I think they both can. That's where I have him at, is in the Jalen Hurts realm, but I also have Jalen Hurts lower than most, so kind of keep that in mind as well. But he back ends our quarterback tier 5, and so now we're going to move on to our tier 6. It's only 2 guys, and ironically, they're very similar to each other. I used to compare one to the other every time it was asked what you believed he would become, and that is at 17, Kirk Cousins, and at 18, Baker Mayfield. There's really not much to say other than these guys are safe and reliable, and just like I said with Ben Roethlisberger, if you're taking that shot on the rookies, these are the best quarterbacks to grab to pair with them, because they're really not going to lose you any weeks, and they're going to win you some weeks, but they're just going to be highly efficient quarterbacks with great running games on their team, but going to have enough weapons around them to sustain you consistent fantasy points at a position that you need to have consistency at. And so they're both great options for that. Perfect quarterback 2s and super flex, and all in all, you can pair them, like I said, with those riskier guys like the Justin Fields, the Trey Lance, and stuff like that to make you feel a lot more comfortable if those guys don't quite work out. So that is our tier 6 at quarterbacks. Moving on to our tier 7. Again, just 2 guys in this one is number 19, Zach Wilson, number 20, Trevor Lawrence. And so Zach Wilson finishes just ahead of Trevor Lawrence here in our rankings because of the way things balanced out. I had Zach Wilson at 18. And I had Trevor Lawrence at 23. Jay had Zach Wilson at 21 and Trevor Lawrence at 19. And the reason Zach Wilson's listed first is when they both finish with the same overall number, we actually end up taking whoever has a player listed higher on their list and list them first. That's literally the only reason here. So essentially they were dead even, and he's got Lawrence ahead and I've got Wilson ahead. So we're going to start with Zach Wilson here. Zach Wilson, to me, was absolutely phenomenal. The only question mark he had was level of competition. And so to get more into that here, the thing I've been saying pretty much all offseason is people are going to really regret fading Zach Wilson because he became the popular one to make fun of because he looked so young. Everybody started calling him a 12-year-old, and it just for some reason correlated to them fading him in drafts and not really believing him. He wasn't really a talking point. He just kind of was when he got drafted number 2 overall in this draft because the team saw what I saw and believed in him. I had him ranked as my quarterback 3 out of this class, just behind Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, who both graded out as an 8.5 out of 10 for me on my scale. Again, that doesn't mean a whole lot unless you actually break it down, but just to show you how close, I had Zach Wilson as an 8, and so I had him right behind them. Again, the strength of competition, level of competition, however you want to say it, is his only question mark. And so the argument goes both ways. It's A, he did what he was supposed to do against inferior competition and delivered, and B, he didn't play anybody, and so wait till he plays a hard team and he's going to struggle significantly. It's one of those where it could go either way, and both ways, both results make sense. I tend to believe in his ability, and so that's why I have him as my quarterback overall 18. I think he's got enough weapons around him to really succeed in his year one. I think they're going to give him the keys right away. And I really believe in Zach Wilson. I think he's a great steal in drafts because you can get him really, really late as well. And he's got upside to finish a lot higher than we have him. Moving on down to Trevor Lawrence. The only difference here between Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson for me is I don't like Trevor Lawrence's situation. It is odd saying this because of the simple fact that it's the Jets versus the Jaguars, but I do believe the Jets have a slightly better defense, and I think they've put together enough pieces around him to kind of match what Trevor Lawrence has in Jacksonville when it comes to overall talent. I think they've got just as much of a committee and a wide receiver in the running back room, but the difference here is I think when you have a veteran quarterback and a bad defense, it's a great benefit to fantasy because it allows them to throw the ball so much. However, on the rookie side, when you have a rookie trying to learn the game, it's nice to allow them to breathe some, and they just aren't able to do that when they're constantly getting thrusted right back out there. Now, I believe Trevor Lawrence is good enough to figure it out and absolutely will. I am just slightly lower on him than I am Zach Wilson, so that's why we have him at 19 and 20 for our quarterback tier 7. Hey, sorry guys for the weird little outfit change and all that. I actually am jumping in, throwing in this snippet as I was editing this the following day. This was originally recorded on Monday, August 30th. And today, on Tuesday, August 31st, the news just released that the Patriots released Cam Newton from their team, basically fully announcing Mac Jones as their starter for the year. I just wanted to mention that I've not been able to get with Jay on his update on Mac Jones, but I will say right here after Trevor Lawrence in this same tier would be where I would put Mac Jones. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that for you guys going into your drafts. I didn't want to leave this out because the news did break prior to releasing of it, so I was able to get this in here. So, nonetheless, Mac Jones right here in the same tier, right behind Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence, and you guys kind of do with that as you will with the ADPs. He should be a steal right now in drafts, and I don't know if it's going to have time to catch up by the time this draft weekend ends on his ADP, so definitely in Superflex, be grabbing him, and then in one quarterback, if you want to take your shot on him as your backup, then by all means do so. He should be a really safe rookie. I don't think his ceiling is quite as high as these other guys, but his floor is absolutely higher than a lot of theirs. So he's a very safe bet, and make sure you're considering him in your drafts. And then we've got our quarterback tier 8, our final tier that we're going to go through, and that's number 21 is Justin Fields, 22 is Derek Carr, 23 is Carson Wentz, and 24 is Jared Goff. Now, the reason Justin Fields is this low is primarily my fault. The way I did my rankings is how I felt they would finish the season, not so much on a per-game basis on how I would rank them up against the other guys. So, for instance, Justin Fields I have ranked as my 27 overall quarterback, but I also have him in the lead out of all the quarterbacks that I feel are going to be sharing time on the field this year. Because if he was given the starting nod, let's say tomorrow, and we knew for sure, I have him all the way up at 13, 14, 15 range with Tua and Jalen Hurts. I'm such a huge believer in Justin Fields. I love his situation better than any of the rookie quarterbacks outside of Trey Lance. But I believe in his ability significantly more than I believe in Trey Lance's. And so that's why, all in all, I think Justin Fields is in a great position to succeed. I love Allen Robinson. I think he's going to help him tremendously. I'm huge on Darnell Mooney. I like the Cole Kmet. And then, obviously, Jimmy Graham, say what you want about him. He's going to be reliable in the end zone. And all in all, you got David Montgomery in the backfield, has become an efficient runner. Damian Williams is another one that's going to help him a lot. I just think this Khalil Herbert has looked nice in the preseason. Justin Fields is somebody I'm huge on. But again, I had him at 27 because the way I did my rankings is I feel like he'll miss probably 3 or 4 games, depending on when they give him that nod, and that's enough to knock him way down the list if he doesn't get to start the whole year. But on a per-game basis, if that's how we were to do the rankings, I would have him up there with Hurts and Tua. And then Jay has him at 18, right in front of Trevor Lawrence, and just behind Tua. So we're kind of in the same page. He's a little bit lower than I would be on him, but it's the same thing. He's an immense talent on both sides of the ball when it comes to running and passing, and he's going to get it done for you. And Justin Fields is one of my favorite guys to draft, and then just pair him with a safe bet until you can wait on him to be ready. He's an absolute steal in the drafts, but that being said, his price is starting to reach the point where I've been debating just passing on him because I really don't want to take that shot or already drafted like a Ryan Tannehill and to pick him up as my backup early. I'd rather take the skill positions there. But that being said, if I pass on Tannehill and miss that tier, I usually end up waiting until I can get Justin Fields and pair him with a Tua or pair him with a Ben Roethlisberger and just have the little bit of security while I wait on that. And so moving on next to Derek Carr, I have Derek Carr at 21. Jay has Derek Carr at 26. It's more so he's always done it. He's got pieces we like, and he's going to be reliable. He's a Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield light where you can draft him later and feel okay with it, but it's never really that exciting. And next, we've got Carson Wentz. I have Carson Wentz at 22. Jay has Carson Wentz at 25. Wentz is somebody that we're either going to be, in my opinion, really wrong about or just wrong in general. He's either going to fall off and be worse than this or he's going to be a lot better. I don't really see him finishing here outside of just bad quarterback play out of all the quarterbacks putting him here. But he should be a reliable bet based on that offensive line, the run game, the weapons around him. Unfortunately, the news of T.Y. Hilton, we're not quite sure yet at the time of recording this as to how extensive that's going to be. But that being said, he's got pieces around him that's going to allow him to succeed. So he'll probably be up there in the Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield range when he finishes the year, but ultimately we won't really know. We have him here primarily because he's just down there in that Derek Carr, Carson Wentz area, but I would take him right with or above them because of the upside. Rounding out our last quarterback that we're going to have for you in today's episode is Jared Goff at 24. Finishing off this tier, I have Jared Goff at 26. Jay has Jared Goff at 24. He's a quarterback that's a starter and will be the whole year, and that's really all there is to say about it. The weapons are abysmal there outside of TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift, but he's going to be the starting guy if you can get him as your end of draft backup that you needed or your quarterback 3 in Superflex, then by all means, he should be enough to throw in on a bye week. But outside of that, there's really nothing exciting to say about Goff unless he just comes out and shocks us all. And it was just LA the whole time, but I don't think any of us believe that. And so, quite frankly, he's not anything to be excited about. There are guys after him, like the last name I'm throwing in as an honorable mention, just because I kind of wanted to expand on him a little bit more because I am heavily on the opposing side of what we've been hearing in this offseason about this player specifically. And that last one we're going to mention, I threw him in on the list as quarterback 25. He's not in that last tier, but it's Trey Lance. This is the name a lot of you have probably been waiting on this entire episode, and so I'm going to kind of explain what's going on here. So Jay has Trey Lance at quarterback 22, right behind Zach Wilson. I have Trey Lance as my quarterback 35 as one of the back-end guys that are going to be sharing time this year. So let me give you a little bit of a backstory on Trey Lance as to why I'm so much lower on him than most. I hate being in this position because I actually really like Trey Lance as a prospect, but unfortunately his hype has reached a point to where the only thing I can say about him is perceived as negative, and that's because I'm not on the same page as everyone else with this. And that is, when you go back and look at his film, this is a guy who threw 300 passes in college. Basically, that was about all he threw. And yes, he had a phenomenal year, but you actually go back and look at the film, a lot of his passes were either to a wide receiver that broke deep and got past the safety or didn't get safety help, just beat their DB, and he looked over and saw it. He used his cannon of an arm that he does have and just bombs it. And sometimes it's right on the money. Other times they just make a quick adjustment over to the ball and get it. But either way, these are guys who are wide open at the back end. Very rarely was it just a great placement ball that allowed him to get it deep to him. And then other than that, it was check downs and out routes and little short stuff, intermediate stuff that really wasn't even that accurate. You saw almost no mid-level throws that were very impressive at all. Few and far between when you did. The part that has everybody excited about Trey Lance, and that I 100% agree on, is he was an absolutely phenomenal runner, and that is huge in fantasy football. And so I 100% get and understand that. I think your problem here is, if you watched him in the preseason, for whatever reason, he looks scared to do it. I don't know if they're just trying to hide that, telling him to save it, and if so, that's fine. I'd probably bump him up some if we did find that out and he does start to run the ball a lot more. They just wanted to save his legs for the actual season and not use it in the preseason or keep defenses guessing. Whatever the case may be, I don't know why he did not run at all in hardly at all in the preseason. So his main weapon he didn't utilize. So that was a little worrisome. But again, it's a preseason. My main focus on here is his passing game has such a tremendously long way to go before it is NFL ready to a point where like he's going to be delivering on the upside that people have had him. They've got, I hear words as top 5 upside. I hear stuff as he's got league winning upside, about he is going to be one of the best steals in the draft if you can get him. I'm hearing guys drafting him in like rounds 5 in their drafts, and I don't understand it at all. That upside is not there for me, even in the slightest. I think if he gets the nod, and even starts to figure things out, I can't imagine him finishing much higher than the Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield range because of how far he's got to go in the passing game. And when defenses realize, okay, as long as we have our safeties on the back end to help cover those deep bombs that he absolutely can deliver on, he's not going to hit you with the midfield stuff. So we play up close and we play the run when he goes to scramble. And it stopped. And that's what I'm saying. The NFL is a whole different ballgame than his North Dakota State opponents that he faced in college. And so, that being said, I was ready to lead his hype train before I got into the film and actually saw what he was able to do. And then he really didn't show anything that wowed me in the preseason to make me think, okay, maybe I was wrong. But he played one game last year, has thrown like 300 passes in college. Matt Ryan threw like 600 just last year alone. And for some reason, he's suddenly good enough to come in and torch the NFL and become this top-tier, league-winning upside fantasy football player. And I just do not understand it. You can label me as a hater if you want to. I hate that it's reached that point, because I actually really like Trey Lance as a prospect, and I think he can develop into something great. And the one point that I had that I've told multiple people, because you hear the argument all the time of they're not going to spend the 3rd overall pick on a guy and bench him. Kyle Shanahan is 100% trusted by John Lynch in this system to be able to go out and make a decision like that, and then be comfortable letting him develop him how he needs, whether it's throwing him out right away, throwing him out midseason, or literally holding him until Jimmy Garoppolo gets injured or next year, because they believe that he saw a talent that he thinks he can mold into something great. I believe in Kyle Shanahan, so by association, I believe in Trey Lance long term. I just don't think that year one upside is what you guys are hoping for. I hate being that negative a guy, and with how much hype there is, I'm sure I'm not changing anyone's minds on it. I'm just explaining my stance and why he didn't make this list. I just wanted to mention him here at the end so you guys kind of understood why. And so, nonetheless, that is going to be it for our quarterbacks this season, for our rankings. Again, a quick run through one more time. Our tier 1 is Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, and Josh Allen. Our tier 2 is Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson. Tier 3 is Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Ryan Tannehill. Tier 4 is Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, and Jalen Hurts, rounding out our top 12 there. And then our tier 5 is Joe Burrow, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan, and Tua Tagovailoa. And then tier 6 is Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield. Tier 7 is Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence. And tier 8 is Justin Fields, Derek Carr, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff. And that's where we ended it at, again, because we just want to do top 24 there. But you could easily throw in guys like Sam Darnold, guys like Winston if he keeps the job all year, guys like Fitzpatrick, same boat. Teddy Bridgewater if he stays the whole year. That end is just kind of call your shot who you think is going to be the guy. Sam Darnold's one of my favorites. I have him a little bit higher than all those guys because of his weapons, so I definitely want to mention him there too. But nonetheless, thank you guys for watching. Leave any comments if you had any questions about anything. We're here to answer them. Follow me on Twitter at DallasFFO and follow Jay at Pick on the Block. Again, half of these rankings are his. He just wasn't able to join us because of scheduling issues. And so, nonetheless, we'll be back next week with our standard weekly episodes. So don't worry, there's no issues there. It's just more of we needed to get these out to you guys before the final draft weekend. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.